Hello, travelers, and welcome back to another episode of the Architect's Forge. We're continuing off with our look at the Syenann action pack, getting into the High Command, starting with the generic High Command from the action pack, the Grand Captain. As always, we will begin by looking at some lore, and really for the Grand Captains, because, let's be honest, there's a bunch of different Grand Captains that we know more about. The lore is kind of minimal, gives an overview of this kind of class of leader elf. The Grand Captains, along with the Grand Druids and the Grand Ioti, form the highest command of the Syenann troops. These well-seasoned warriors lead their troops with mastery in both mobile, static, or stealthy maneuvers. The Grand Captains are born leaders, capable of ensuring that even the most individualistic warriors and the most unique units act in impeccable coordination with their companions. Some examples of Grand Captains that we know about in the lore include Leoslaith, Nikael, Iachan, Tiarnhar, Isbel, Orlaith, Eilbhe, Artaith, and Niall. The first three of those are actually characters that we get in the game so far, so who knows, maybe we'll get the others at some point too. But having looked at the kind of general description of this group of the leaders of the elves, the Grand Captains, we will get into looking at their profile. But before we do, just a quick reminder that if you are enjoying these videos or any of the other videos on the channel, please remember to like, follow, and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. It is the best way to help the channel out. Also, if you have friends that are either getting into Warcrow or in Warcrow and you think might find it interesting, send it their way and get them watching the videos as well. If you did want to support the channel in a financial way, there are now three options. First, you can join as a channel member, either at the marked or at the intact level. Any members, if you're giving suggestions for videos or requests for specific units to look at in Architect's Forge, you'll get priority on those, and those at the marked level also get videos about a week early. So it's a good way to help support the channel if that's something you want to do. There's also the option and a link in the description to the channel's Buy Me a Coffee if you want to contribute in that way. And if you are buying something from the Corvus Belli store, in the video description there is an affiliate link. If you want to use that affiliate link, so you click on it to then access the store and then buy your purchase, they get a little bit back from Corvus Belli for sending you their way. But again, the main thing is liking, following, and subscribing, and sharing the videos around. But with that, let's look at the Grand Captain on the table. The Grand Captain comes in, looking at the basic stats, at an average cost of 30. This is actually, I'd say, pretty average. It's a higher end of average for an officer, lower end of average for a high command, and the Grand Captain is a high command. We'll get to that in a second. The Grand Captain does bring 2 command tokens, which for some factions would be not a lot, but for Syenann is actually quite a bit. Syenann doesn't usually have that many command tokens, so 2 is really nice. Moving on, he has a speed of 4.3 with a charge of 11, which is very fast, kind of in keeping with that nice fast elven speed that we've seen looking through the different Syenann units. He has wounds of 3, which is fairly average. For a high command, compared to some factions, it's low, but he is an elf, so 3 is about what you'd expect. A whip of 2 orange dice is a good whip, what you expect at the very least from someone that's a high command, so 2 is good. And he's also coming in with 2 morale, which is again good morale. It's not something crazy, but it's also not 1. 2 is a good amount. You probably aren't going to be activating this guy on his own more than twice anyways, so it's largely plenty. As you'd expect from a high command, because you can only bring 1 high command, he is a single availability. Now, getting into some of his keywords, as I've mentioned, he's a high command. This is actually probably one of the biggest limiters on him, because by taking him, it means you can't take the faction's other high command, that being Leoslaith. And Leoslaith, who we'll get to in next week's video, is quite good, so that is probably the biggest downside to this guy. He is Nemorous, which is always nice. It means that he will turn on all those nice buffs that your faction gets on their units for being near Nemorous and or forests. So it's really good that he's Nemorous. He has a very flexible ability to join. He can join any infantry in Syenann, which is really good. He has pretty solid buffs that work kind of for every single unit, so being a flexible is really good. Wrapping off his keywords, he has the preferred terrain, rugged, and forest ability, which is really nice to have. It means you're stopped from being slowed down by the rugged terrain. And it means you can ignore all terrain keywords on a forest. This means that, for example, if you have a rugged forest, well, he already ignores rugged, but rugged line of sight blocking forest, he ignores the line of sight blocking, which means he can actually see through forest, which means he can charge or shoot through forest or trigger any abilities he might have that require line of sight, which I don't think he actually has any that require line of sight. Mainly it is the shooting and the being able to charge through the terrain, which the line of sight blocking terrain of a forest, which is really nice. He does actually bring one conquest, even when unattached, which is good because this guy is someone that can run around by himself, or if his unit dies, he's not bad to keep running around by himself. So having a conquest and be able to contribute to the scoring is really nice to have. Looking at his his attack, his ranged attack, he does actually have a ranged attack and a melee attack. His ranged attack comes in at a range of 18, and it is 2 red dice. This will average you about 2.25 hits with a max of 4. It's okay damage. It's not particularly good. You'll average 0.25 hollow hits, which does matter because the attack does have a switch on the hollow hit. So what that means is that with the hollow hit switch that he has, hollow hits inflict a damage to your target. So it's not likely to happen, but what it does mean is that each of those 2 red dice is guaranteed to do at least 1 hit or 1 auto damage. Every red face of the red die has either a hit, 2 hits, or a hollow hit, which means he's fairly consistent. The auto damage is also nice. It means that that's not even going to be blocked by any enemy defense. This ranged attack, not particularly good, but maybe you're just needing him to move onto a point to claim it, maybe trigger one of his other abilities, and you happen to have an enemy in 18, you might as well take the shot, maybe plink away a damage or 2. Moving on to his melee attack, this is, as expected, better than his range attack. He has a red die, 2 orange dice, and a yellow. He also has the ability to do stress to add a auto success, or an auto hit, and an auto special. So with just the dice, he's averaging about 2.75 hits, which of course gets a full extra one, going up to 3.75 if he's stressing, which is fairly good. It's not amazing, but it's not bad. It gets more reliable, obviously, with the stress, and also his switches that he has on his melee attack, which is also buffed by stressing. Because it's relevant, we'll look at how many specials he gets. He'll get an average of 2.13 specials and a max of 5, of course going up to 3.13 when he stresses, because he gets that auto special. And why does that matter? That matters because he does, on his melee attack, have a switch for 2 specials that's going to cancel a hit from your target. You're likely to get this at one time without stressing. And if you stress, you're still likely to only get it one time, but hey, you have a higher chance of getting it twice. What this does is it really helps make his damage more consistent. If you think about his average roll, not stressing, he's getting 2.75, but then also canceling a block from your opponent, it's almost like getting 3 hits. If your opponent whiffs, it doesn't. It's not as good, but otherwise it's effectively the same. So it helps just make it more consistent when he punches. Okay, defensively, he's rocking a green, a blue, and a auto block. We always like to see those auto blocks, with 1.63 blocks being his average, with a max of, it says 4. It should actually be a max of 5. Oh, no, it is 4. It's a max of 4, but if he stresses, he can stress to add an auto block, going up to 2.63 average blocks with the potential then of getting up to 5. Being able to just stress and having 2 auto blocks just makes it so you have fairly consistent defensive profile. It is above average. Again, blocking in this game when you only have 3 wounds is always risky, but against a lot of enemies in the game, if you're stressing, you're probably going to only take you'll probably survive if you're at full health. Now, he does have a switch, which we'll get to, and does require the hollow special. On average, you'll get 0.25 hollow specials with a max of 1. That's because the green die doesn't actually have any hollow specials on it. Now, what the switch is, though, if you happen to hit that 0.25, is very good. The hollow special, while not likely, will cancel 2 hits from your attacker. So, as I said, it's not likely you're going to get it, but when you do get it, it will significantly cut down on your opponent's offense and make it that much more likely that you will survive that attack. Okay, so let's start looking at his abilities in his unattached form, his different skills, starting with his command skill, Maneuvers in the Forest. So what this does is you can use it once per round during the Grand Captain's activation. It does not require line of sight, and you'll target up to 2 allied units. Now note, it says target up, you target up to 2 allied units. It doesn't say a range there. So he can just target any 2 units anywhere, which is pretty nuts. Each of those targets will then place itself adjacent to a forest or Nemeris unit that's within 7 strides. So that means that they're going to, if they're near a forest, they could place to the other side of the forest. If they're within 7 of a unit of sprigs, they could place to the other side of the unit of sprigs. So you can get some nice movement off of this ability, getting that nice little maneuvers, which, the Syenann really like, doing tricky maneuvers all over the board. Another nice thing about this is, let's say the Grand Captain ends his activation on an objective, and his 1 conquest isn't enough to take it, but he himself is a Nemeris unit. Maybe if there is maybe another one of your units that has 2 conquest, that's within 7 of him, they can then place adjacent to him, and boom, now you have their conquest on that point before you check to see who secures it. Also, because he is Nemeris, and if you want to keep him safe but not in a unit, you could have that unit teleport to just be circling around him to keep him safe, which is really nice. His next ability is a passive skill called Ambushing Tactics. Once again, it does not require line of sight, and this is a permanent ability that will target all allied units. All your units, because it targets everyone, will gain Preferred Terrain Rugged and Preferred Terrain Forest. So that means, like we were saying before, they're not going to be slowed by Rugged. Hey, and look, now they can see through forest. Really nice if you're running 1 or 2 protectors of the forest and doing more of a ranged build. On top of that, your targets may repeat their melee attack rolls if they're within 5 strides of a forest or Nemeris allied unit. Now, if you're charging, this is the exact same. So if you're charging, this isn't going to give you a benefit, but let's say you're in a prolonged combat, maybe your opponent charged you and didn't push you back. Hey, if you're near a forest or a Nemeris unit, now you're getting those rerolls as though you charged. So it's a nice little buff. It really lends him to cool builds that are maybe more defensive, waiting to get charged themselves, or maybe want to be in more prolonged combats like Sprigs, while also wanting more of those range units to take advantage of being able to see through the forests. So, now that we've looked at what the Grand Captain does when he is on his own, let's see what he does in a unit. Starting with the modifiers that he brings to the unit that he joins. Again, any infantry Syenann unit. First, he sets their willpower to 2 orange, which will be an improvement for most of your units, which is nice. On top of that, he'll boost your unit's morale by 1, which helps keep them from fleeing as easily, as well as letting them activate more, which again is very helpful and very important to the game a lot of the time if it means getting maybe a higher conquest unit somewhere that they need to be to score those points. In terms of what he brings in terms of offense and defensive bonuses, he will give an auto hit to your unit's ranged attack, which is very nice for protectors of the forest, making it so they can get that much more likely to push a damage through and get that stress off of doing damage. In melee, he will give an auto hit, but he can also stress to give another hit, which means you can just be giving an extra 2 automatic hits. This is nice consistency. There's no randomness to it. If you want 2 hits, you just get 2 hits as long as you have the morale to spend. So, yeah, this adds a nice big consistency to his unit's melee. Likewise, in defense, he gives a auto block and can stress to get a second one. Again, there's no randomness here for those that don't like needing to, rely on the dice to roll well. Something like this is very nice to have. Finally, he will bring an extra conquest to his unit, which is really nice. Conquest is always good. It's how you score points, and we win games by scoring points, not killing. On top of that, Syenann has relatively low conquest scores, usually in their armies, so being able to have that much more is always really good. Moving into his attached skills, we see he once again has the command skill Maneuvers in the Forest. This is the exact same as when he is unattached. He does have a new passive skill. It is a Dauntless skill, which means even if his unit is fleeing, it will continue to take effect, and is We Are One with the Great Forest. And what this does is it gives your unit the Nemerus keyword. Normally, when a character that's Nemerus joins a unit that isn't Nemerus, they don't make that unit Nemerus, so you kind of are losing out on a place to have the effects turned on for your Nemerus relying abilities. So he's cool. He can make a unit that otherwise wouldn't be Nemerus add some mobility, which is really good because, again, so many Syenann abilities require you to be near Nemerus units or forests. It is also, again, worth remembering ambushing tactics that gives your, all your units preferred terrain rugged, etc. That will continue to take effect because it is a permanent ability. So even while attached, you're going to be benefiting for that with your force. So that was the Grand Captain. Just quickly going over my kind of like overall analysis and thoughts on this guy. I think he's actually a very solid and reasonably priced high command. He doesn't have, in my mind, a strong reason to be started unattached. You can maybe end up unattached later. There's no real reason to. While he's okay on his own, his 2 abilities in his unattached form he gets while he is attached, because the command skill is duplicated and the other one's permanent. And on top of that, he provides strong buffs to his unit, no matter what type of unit he's in. Are you buffing a unit of Protectors of the Forest, getting some extra range damage, and also making their melee and defense a bit more consistent? Or are you boosting up more elite melee unit? Either way, they're getting good buffs from him. So really, there's not a lot of reason to start him unattached. To me, he seems to benefit companies that focus on range attacks, maybe having 1 or 2 Protectors of the Forest, while also having maybe more durable or more, melee units that want to stick around a bit longer. So maybe things like Sprigs as opposed to something like Wardens that are just going to try and run away a lot of the time. This allows you to take advantage of both the preferred terrain he gives to his faction, but also the ability to get those rerolls from being near Nemerus units, even if you aren't charging. So that's my thought on him. I think a lot of people kind of sleep on him, largely because Leoslaith is just so good, who we'll get to next week. But I think if you haven't tried this guy, he's definitely worth trying out. You definitely want to build an army towards his strengths, not just maybe slot him in place of Leoslaith. But I definitely think you can, if you want, make good use of him and all the maneuverability that he brings to your force. But those are just my thoughts on the Grand Captain. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I know that there are some people out there that really champion him. Let me know your thoughts. Are there things that I missed? Are there things that you really like or combos that work really well from him? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And until then, may the dice be ever in your favor.